How's it going, everybody? This is the Stimulus Check Hub here to give you your daily stimulus check and unemployment benefits updates and latest information. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. A like and a comment are always appreciated. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing this with your friends and family, because I'm sure they would also like the most up-to-date information on their stimulus checks and unemployment benefits available anywhere on YouTube, which is what I try to provide here on this channel. So I've gotten some comments stating that my titles do not accurately represent what I talk about in the videos. And going forward, I'm going to really try to simplify my titles, and I'm going to make them much more open and honest. And I'm only going to just present you guys the news, and I'm not going to interject any sort of bias or personal opinion in the videos going forward. That way, the titles more accurately represent what is in my videos, and I'm going to try to do that much better going forward. So I hope that you guys enjoy this new type of update. So, firstly, both Donald Trump and Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi now say a second stimulus bill can be passed after the election, as hopes of a pre-November 3rd deal have all but vanished. And I think that is the general consensus, that passing a stimulus bill before the election is not going to happen. There are still some differences that remain between Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi. Now, Nancy Pelosi wrote Steven Mnuchin a letter talking about the stimulus checks on October 29th. I thought I would read you guys the letter. The Honorable Steven Mnuchin, Secretary of the Treasury, 1500 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest Washington, D.C., 20220. That's the White House. Dear Steven Mnuchin, our nation will soon pass the heartbreaking milestone of 9 million coronavirus cases and 250,000 American deaths. At the same time that 8 million are being pushed into poverty, 17 million children are food insecure, and over 23 million workers are on unemployment. Meanwhile, as the coronavirus surges and the stock market plummets, we are still awaiting the Trump administration's promised response on multiple items of critical importance. More than a week ago, you publicly announced that the White House would accept Democrats' testing, tracing, and treatment language with only a light touch. We still have not received a final answer on new compromise language regarding whether the administration will agree to a national science-based strategy for testing, tracing, and treatment that is needed to crush the virus, as well as language on vaccines, the provider fund, and ACA coverage for unemployed workers. In addition, we are still awaiting state and local a response on funding for state, local, tribes, and territories that will honor our heroes and prevent devastating cuts to services. Safe schools, answers on funding to safely reopen our schools with separation, ventilation, sanitation, and more funding for teachers and support staff, and also on ensuring private schools, K through 12 public schools, and higher education receive a sufficient balance of funding. Child care, a response on whether the White House will agree to the child care funding families desperately need so that we can have our children learning, parents earning while some schools are closed. Tax credits for working families, an answer on whether the White House will provide funding to strengthen the Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit. Unemployment insurance, a response on whether the White House will prevent 5 million Americans from exhausting their benefits, in addition to addressing other UI needs of American workers' families. OSHA and liability, a response on whether the White House will agree to keep our workers safe as they risk their lives and jobs to keep us safe and the economy running. Your responses are critical for our negotiations to continue. The president's words that after the election we will get the best stimulus package we've ever seen only have meaning if he can get Mitch McConnell to take his hand off the pause button and get the Senate Republican chairman moving toward agreement with the White House counterparts, with the House counterparts. As I send this communication, millions of Americans have been waiting in line for hours to vote, and it is disappointing that the White House does not want to provide funding for our elections during the pandemic. We also hope that you will reconsider your opposition to ensuring a full and accurate census count. The American people are suffering, and they want us to come to an agreement to save lives, livelihoods, and the lives of our American democracy as soon as possible. In light of these challenges, I respectfully await your attention to these urgent matters. Sincerely, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. So that was a letter that Nancy Pelosi wrote to Secretary Steven Mnuchin, who is the middleman between her and Donald Trump. So I thought that was an important letter to read. And she brought up an interesting point in the letter, and that is that McConnell is pretty much putting the pause on the stimulus bills. From a report that was done on October 30th, McConnell expects the coronavirus stimulus in 2021, while Pelosi and Trump push for a deal sooner. But I think that there is still a little bit of disagreement between Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump. I mean, there were some pretty key issues brought up in this letter that was written yesterday, whether it was the state and local funding, which we already knew was a pretty big problem. The unemployment insurance, there was a little bit of debate on that. I knew there was some debate on the schooling and the testing and things like that. I didn't know about the ocean liability or the tax credit for working families. I didn't know that was still an issue. Childcare, I also had not known was an issue in this bill. I thought that they generally agreed. But the primary points of disagreement, from my understanding, are the state and local funding and the unemployment insurance and the testing, tracing, and contact tracing that's going on all throughout the country right now. Currently, the coronavirus cases are rising fairly rapidly. We are averaging about 75,000 new cases per day, depending on whose data you look at. Again, it ranges from 70 to 80,000, depending on who you ask. But there's a general consensus that the overall caseload is starting to rise, and certain hospitals are starting to struggle to manage that. So I can understand why there would be a debate on testing and tracing in the bill. But I think that Mitch McConnell still stands in the way of a deal. I really do believe, and again, this is my personal belief I'm going to be talking about here, just to let you know ahead of time, this is my personal opinion. I do not personally believe that Mitch McConnell will go along with whatever Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi agree on. Donald Trump did make a statement claiming during the town hall of the 2020 elections, I believe it was in Michigan, he said that he could get the Senate Republicans to go along with a stimulus deal that he and Nancy Pelosi agreed upon. I personally do not believe that is the case. Just based on some reportings that I'm seeing and various articles that I've read, McConnell seems to be pretty steadfast on not passing a stimulus deal. Although I'm sure that these positions of these politicians will shift depending on who wins the Senate and who wins the White House. That is when you'll probably see a major shift in opinions and a major shift in thought process going forward. I will try to keep you guys up to date. There's a lot of information coming out, and there's a lot of various statements by different politicians. Depends on who you listen to and who you choose to believe, but various politicians have different classifications and different beliefs on the stimulus bill, and it's hard to tell who's telling the truth and who's not in these type of discussions. But that letter was did a pretty good job summarizing some of the differences that appear to remain, and I'll hope to keep you guys up to date on that going forward. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. A like and a comment are always appreciated. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing this with your friends and family, because I'm sure they would also like the most up-to-date information on their stimulus checks and unemployment benefits available anywhere on YouTube. Have a good one.